getting the basics right for the EV revolution, or what do you call the electric vehicle revolution. So what that actually means, first of all, it just means that in a few years from now, like 10 or 15 years, you'll be having a lot of electric vehicles on the road rather than the petrol or the diesel ones. So yeah, it's not spontaneously happening, like people are just choosing the electric over the petrol or diesel. It's just that the nations are actually trying to impose this on a global basis in order to reduce the carbon footprint and stuff like that. So how is it going to bother me now? Like what will happen to me if I keep on owning my petrol or diesel powered vehicle like 10 or 15 years from now? Chances are that the government is going to ask you to scrap it, or it's going to impose a lot of taxes on you for owning a fuel consuming vehicle. So you have to get ready for it, and you better act like immediately. So why did I make this video now? The thing is, when I started to use the electric vehicles recently, like when I switched over to electric from petrol, few basic questions popped up in my mind. These were like so obvious and inevitable that it sort of made me think about the conventional petrol and diesel powered vehicles which I have been driving for the past 10 years or so. It made me think them as something that doesn't make sense at all. And the truly crazy thing is that I had a lot of factors supporting the question, like justifying the question. It made me really drive so much crazy. Really sorry for interrupting the video, but this is the real crazy part. More than 99.3% of people who are watching the channel right now have not subscribed to it. So if you haven't subscribed, please do it. It motivates me a lot to do such informational content in the future. And yeah, so please do subscribe if you haven't yet. Thank you. Back to the video now. So the question actually is that, why would you choose a complex energy conversion system like an IC engine if you can go for a much simpler and much efficient system like an electric motor? Okay, and I said IC engines to be complex because IC engines basically use heat to convert it into the motion, the forward motion or the rotary motion, whatever you want to call it. The problem is heat is a low-grade energy. Why do we call that low-grade energy? It's because you cannot completely convert any amount of heat into that equivalent amount of work. This is a fact. This is supported by second law of thermodynamics. If you're a bit nerdy, you can go check it out. But that's the fact. The maximum efficiency which we have in our petrol or diesel powered vehicles, like right now running on the road, is like 35 to 45%, 35 to 40 for the petrol powered ones and 40 to 45 for the diesel powered ones. You have higher compression ratio in case of diesel engines. So the fact is the efficiency is less than half of what you input. So that's not so good. But why it became not so good is that the electric vehicles now have efficiency way above 90%. If you go for a premium electric vehicles like Jaguar and Tesla, so they can give you efficiencies of about like 95 to 96%, which is like extremely good if you just take that factor alone into account. So yeah, that's the reason I call this IC engines to be low grade or inefficient or complex, and the electric powered ones much simpler, much efficient way to actually commute. So coming back to the factors, what are the factors that were supporting my question? So the first one was efficiency, which we just spoke about. The second one was pollution, noise and air pollution. Noise pollution, you have to accept like 100%. The electric vehicles don't make any noise at all. You do have the tiny whining sound from the electric motor, but that is something you can easily fade off if you just turn on the music system in your car, or even if you start talking within the cabin inside the car. So that's not a point to be discussed, and that's not going to be a deciding factor for anyone. So the real thing is air pollution. I won't call the electric vehicles to be completely pollution-less or zero emission vehicles, because if you just consider the vehicle alone, it's obviously zero emission. You don't have an exhaust pipe out of an electric vehicle. But then if you consider the manufacturing process, like building an electric vehicle from the scratch, and if you compare that with building an internal combustion engine vehicle from the scratch, you cannot say this is completely green or zero polluting, but relatively less. That's what we can tell for now. It has a lot of specifications, like a lot of detailing into it, but I'm keeping it on the surface level. So the third thing was, this is something really crazy. The thing is, It's a sense of energy usage. Okay, if you're using an internal combustion engine vehicle, you just start the engine and it keeps on idling. Even if you're not moving at certain place like stop-go traffic, you're gonna spend some fuel and you're gonna burn some fuel, which is going to come out of the exhaust pipe and doing nothing. Like the vehicle is staying there. Even for a few seconds, it's happening. But in the case of electric vehicles, you use energy only when you move. So that actually made a lot of difference. That actually convinced me a lot. Like it's a much sophisticated system, and it's something that every thinking person should look for. So these are the factors supporting it. And so after learning all these things for a while now, I was like, my next vehicle is going to be electric, and I'm going to change everything that moves in my home into electric. So yeah, that's a good thing. But before you come into that conclusion, I just want you to think from a consumer's point of view. So okay, if you are that type of person who thinks that, okay, I buy an electric vehicle now, I'm not going to put any fuel in that, which means I'm going to save all the money which I would rather use on fueling the vehicle. But in the long term, I'm going to put the whole money down in replacing the battery. If you're a person thinking in this way, I would just ask you to give a second thought. Your thinking is not wrong, but the fact is the battery technology is constantly improving. It's getting more durable, reliable, it's getting more energy dense, and it's also getting cheaper and cheaper to manufacture. You have better technologies coming up, like lithium phosphate technology coming up in the near future. And it doesn't end there. You also have new technologies like solid state batteries, which are claiming to be really energy dense, and they are claiming that it's going to revolutionize the EV revolution itself. So the point is, you have a lot of battery technologies coming up which are more durable, reliable, and affordable than the previous technologies. So if you couple this with the fact that the fuel prices are also increasing every day, on a daily basis here in India at least, so which means, like, for example, the premium fuel now costs around like 100 rupees if you're watching the video like the day I'm recording. Probably if you consider the fact, like after 7 or 8 years, the same time span which the EV manufacturer gives for the battery warranty period, if you consider that time, it's going to touch somewhere around 120 rupees per liter of fuel or something like that. So if you couple these factors, the battery price going down and the fuel price going up, so if you think in that way, if you do the math properly, it ends up that even if you buy an electric vehicle right now, you will be able to save a considerable amount of money even in the long run if you're owning an electric vehicle. So I think that answers that, and that's the whole point of this video. And as always, see you in the next one.